We're super excited to be here. As mentioned, we recently partnered with NEAR. My name is Arnaud. I'm the head of go-to-market at Dune. This is Jackie.
Yes, I'm Jackie. I'm developer relations at Dune.
So today we want to talk about three things. We'll tell you maybe a little bit more about Dune, maybe a part of Dune that you've never heard of. We'll tell you quickly how to use Dune, and more importantly, how do we bring the two together on how to use NEAR data on Dune and what you can do with it. So you probably, let's see. All right. This is probably what you think about Dune. You see a lot of dashboards on Twitter. Vitalik posted about it. Actually, Ilya posted about it this morning, Dune dashboard. You see a lot of that from Bloomberg to some crypto media. And yes, that's probably what people think when they think about Dune. A dashboard somewhere on Twitter, on research papers and everything. This is not just that. The story about Dune started about 6 years ago. There's 50 employees at Dune. We have about 5 million people that comes every day to check dashboard, check analytics, and about 500,000 active users as of today. And why do they come to Dune? Because Dune is known as the source of truth for blockchain data. So that's a lot of data. You know, think about it, probably if you combine all the companies and projects you're going to meet today, all of their data is on Dune. It's a lot of data, a lot of dashboard, a lot of queries. But what does that mean concretely? Like, what can you do with that? So essentially, there's three things that people do when they use Dune. You analyze on-chain data using SQL, you know, pretty standard database programming language. You then visualize that data, create charts, dashboard, and then the most beautiful thing is you share it, right? Because if you think about it, it's kind of ironic that blockchain is public, so it's available to everybody, but it's also very hard to understand and decrypt. And Dune has been built as an open data platform, meaning that anybody that share their dashboard, anybody can have access to it. They can fork it, copy it. It's kind of like imagining you have like the power of like analysts around the globe that are doing work for you. But Dune is not just about dashboard. What you might not know is that on Dune, you can actually bring any data to Dune. So what we found out is that a lot of companies, chain, labs, projects, you know, need to have access to on-chain data. That's kind of like our currency. But they also have other data. That could be on-chain data that Dune doesn't have, or potentially some off-chain data. Could be, you know, user behavior information, some marketing analytics. And on Dune, you can combine the two, meaning that Dune becomes your internal analytics platform. The second thing is you can extract all of the data on Dune. Specifically, if you have like high volume or high needs of data, you can use it through our partnership with Snowflake. So every customer that's using Snowflake and the on-chain data is using the Dune data there. But you can export it in any way you want and basically use it in your own data lake environment. And that connects us now with NEAR. About a month ago, we recently finalized the integration. It was long coming. It was about a year in the works. And now we're going to learn a little bit more how to use Dune, Jackie?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Arnaud. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have written Dune queries in the past? OK, cool. We've got a few.
Wow.
Amazing, amazing. So today, let's first talk about how do you use Dune, both as a consumer, kind of like a viewer, but then as well as a creator. And then we'll dive more into specifically the NEAR data on Dune. So if you go to dune.com, this is what you will see, a landing page where you basically have it's like dubbed by our community as the front page of crypto trends. Because anything that's trending that day, if you go to it right now, you can see there's like dashboards associated with it. So when FTX was a big thing, like you obviously see a lot of dashboards back then, analyzing where the fund is going, like how the trend is going at the moment. So this is where you can go once you go to dune.com. And then if you want to search for anything that's like NEAR related or like REFI related, you can just do it in the global search bar. And then something more neat that we launched more recently is the blockchain. Am I going to be able to get the dot? OK. Oh, right here, the blockchains page. So if you go into it, there's a dedicated page for each of the blockchains we have on Dune. So up on the top, you can see is a list of standardized metrics where you can try to compare chain to each other, followed by a list of the dashboards available for you to explore for that particular chain. So here we already see actually made by Slice Analytics in the crowd, the NEAR protocol dashboards, and then a few other apps dashboards for NEAR specifically. And then what's really beautiful about Dune is that you can go into each of the dashboards, but not only that, for each of the visualization you see, because it's open data, we want to enable you to start auditing the logic behind it and start playing with it, right? So one of the things is for any of the visualization you see, you can click into it, and then you can see what's the logic behind it, the SQL that like made the data. And then on the top right, you can also see there's a fork button. So if you want to modify the analytics based on this particular query, you could do that. But you can also just decide to, hey, like, I don't want to start here. I want to start with my own fresh data. You can also do like start a new query. And that's where we can transition a bit more into from a viewer side to a creator side. So as a creator, you can come here, you're like, hey, let me click create new query, you start. And maybe you're just like, let me try out the AI, so there's the get started with AI button, but then you can also start exploring I believe we have like millions of data sets on Dune already. So one of them, you can see like you can navigate to the NEAR data set, and these are all the available NEAR tables that you can start querying and like construct your queries, dashboards for. So with that being said, let's now zoom into the NEAR data on Dune to kind of get you started on how do you start analyzing NEAR data. So we have this saying at Dune that data must flow. So one of the things I want to first touch upon before we go dive into the data sets of NEAR is how does the NEAR data flow? So we're all familiar with the blockchain concepts, right? You have the data of all the blocks chained together, and that's why it's called a blockchain. And we probably are also familiar that NEAR has this nightshade technology, which enables it to parallel process a bunch of things, and it's called, the network itself is split into shards. And then each of the shard also produces a chunk of the block, and then together, all these chunks of the block will consist the block itself. So just trying to visualize the relationship a bit more. So we have a block, right? And then the network is split into different shards. So there are currently 6 shards on NEAR. And then each shards will produce a chunk of the data. And then all these chunks will consist the block itself. And then so each block will have many different chunks of many different transactions and actions. So concretely, take an example. Let's just visualize 2 tracks of two shards. There's shard 0 and then shard 1. So let's say Alex.NEAR account lives on shard 0, and then Bob.NEAR account lives on shard 1. So if Alice wants to send Bob some token, Alice will, in the second chunk or second block, it will start initiating an action of transferring. So that's like the transaction data. And then from there, it will produce an execution outcome, which then will turn into a receipt. A receipt is like the internal instruction telling NEAR what to do in the next step, right? So because Bob.NEAR lives in a different shard, so in the next block, we have a different chunk already. So in that particular chunk, the blockchain will tell you to, hey, I acknowledge the receipt, then I will execute the transaction, and then you will produce an outcome. So hopefully that gives a little bit more of the flow of how the NEAR data flow in general. So maybe a little different way to visualize this is we can see from these charts that are on Dune. So we talked about the shards, right? So on the top chart, the line, you can see how the number of shards evolved over time. And then we talked about how each the block is consisted of many chunks. So the light green, if you can see it, the light green color, there's many more chunks than blocks, right? Which corresponds to what we just talked about. Because chunks, blocks are consist of chunks. Another interesting thing on the bottom is that you can see how the different shards are being utilized by the NEAR network. So on the bottom is a chart of how the gas distributed by different shards that we have. So something interesting that corresponds also to the top chart is you can see around March 2024, the top chart has like a cliff going up, right? It went from 4 shards to 6 shards. And then, of course, the bottom one, you can see the red and the kind of like purple color of shards being utilized is also being visualized here. So this is like kind of a simple visualization of how you can see the concept we just talked about, how the NEAR data flow, how like different blocks, chunks, and then shards like all fit together. So now we have understood how data generally flow on NEAR. Let's just dive in a little bit more on different data sets that we have on NEAR that you can start already playing around to produce the dashboards that we kind of talked about just now. So we have block chunks. So that's just the regular data associated with the block. And then we also have the actions table. So that is the transactions that is being recorded in each of the block. So here in NEAR, it's referred to as the action being initiated by different accounts. And then we also have the function calls. So function calls are a type of transaction that is a bit more complicated, so it's a bit more nested if you just go query directly from the actions table. So together with the NEAR Foundation, we've partnered to make a separate table for the function calls, so it's like a little easier for you to start querying. And then also related to the actions or the transactions is the logs table. So this is specifically for the contracts data. So if you're familiar with the more EVM data, so this would be like the event logs that you kind of see on the EVM side. Okay, and then moving on to a few other more transformed tables to help analysts get started faster. So you can see we have an NFT transfers table as well as a FT transfers table. FT stands for fungible token. So if you are just interested in how token generally flows from accounts or just in aggregate, these are the 2 tables you can already start querying. And of course, everybody is very interested in the balance of any accounts. So we've got the balances table and the circulating supply in general. That's something pretty hard to calculate. So the NEAR Foundation and us just made that table available for everybody to start building. And then with that being said, now you have sort of the basic building block of how to build a dashboard on Dune for NEAR. So happy building.
And just remember, it is free to use Dune. So you go to dune.com, create your profile. You have access to the entire NEAR data since Genesis, all the tables and data sets that Jackie mentioned. If you need any help, you're like, maybe I'm not super familiar with SQL, we can help you. We have a customer success team to build your first dashboard. If you're a project on here and you say, hey, I want to build my dashboard, we work with great team like Slice Analytics also to help, so please reach out to us. If you're passionate about on-chain data and analytics, tomorrow we're also organizing DuneCon. DuneCon, as you can tell from the name, is the global conference by Dune. It's kind of like the Olympics. We rotate region every year. It was in Lisbon. We're obviously very happy to be here. So if you want to take a break from the super excited REDACTED conference, it's actually right across from the river. If you take the boat, we're literally across in the beautiful Marriott. So it's going to be all day tomorrow. If not, we have a booth inside DEF CON on Tuesday and Wednesday. Come see us. Obviously, we're going to hang out a little bit today for you guys, but we'll be happy to help. And like Jackie said, let the data flow. Thank you.